we got some big stuff, but I want to ask you real quick about this, and it may be something that we don't even know too much about, and we'll research if anybody cares for an upcoming show. But before we get into the meat of the matter, they're shaking things up over in TNA. And apparently now, is there new people running the place again? Is it still Anthem still owns it? Anthem is the big business conglomeration up there in Canada that owns this thing and Access TV or whatever they're calling that network these days. And that's but now there's new people running the wrestling end. The branch office, what's going on there? Do you even know?
I know a little bit about it. Let's go to an article I have here from Fightful by Jeremy Lambert. TNA Wrestling underwent changes on Wednesday.
Changes!
Naming Carlos Silva as the new TNA president. Anthony Ciccione? Ciccione? I don't know how you pronounce this guy's name.
Oh, God damn it. You're from New York, and if you can't pronounce an Italian name, it's pretty goddamn odd.
Well, Anthony Ciccione, or whatever his name is.
Wait a minute. Is he related to Bob Ciccione from Penthouse?
That's Guccione, and he is dead. But he was the previous TNA president. He
didn't even know he was sick.
He is remaining with Anthem Wrestling. And let me just say, that's what I heard from someone who knows the participants here. He's not leaving the company, he's staying with an Anthem, going to do something else. And the new guy, Carlos Silva, is coming in and obviously probably wants to bring in his own team. Josh Matthews and Christy Hemme have also departed the company.
Wait, Christy Hemme?
That's right. What? She is no.
I haven't.
Here's an official.
Well, I know who she is, but I haven't heard her name. I know Josh Matthews is the little peanut-headed announcer fella. But I didn't know that Christy Hemme had been working in wrestling for fucking. You never hear her name. What was she doing there?
We could find out in a second. I think she may have gotten a good position in the company after Scott D'Amore went home. But here's an official statement TNA issued to John Alba. The new TNA wrestling president is Carlos Silva. George Veras is the new executive producer of the Anthem Sports Group. George is the 10-time Emmy Award-winning president and chief executive officer of the Pro Football Hall of Fame Enterprises, as well as president of Veras Communications, Incorporated. Josh Matthews and Christy Hemme are no longer with the company. We appreciate their commitment to TNA throughout the years and wish them well in their future endeavors.
Well, now, wait a minute. Which one? George Veras, and what was the other guy's name?
Carlos Silva is the new head of TNA. His boss would be George Veras, the new executive producer of Anthem Sports.
Which one of those replaced Christy Hemme? What job did she have and Josh Alexander? Did they were running the whole fucking thing?
Let me
Yeah, we got George and Carlos now, so fucking see you, Christy and Josh.
Let me see what her job was. Apparently, hold on. She was the head of marketing, and Josh Matthews was a senior producer, as well as the senior director of digital media.
Oh, good Lord. Little Josh, when I was there briefly, about, what was it, fucking 8 years ago now, he did strike me as one of those younger fellows that thinks he's very smart. But that's all I was ever around him. That was the last, what were they calling it at that point? Global Force Wrestling. The point I'm making is they've had more owners and runners in the last fucking, 8 years now than I think than goddamn WCW under TBS had booking changes. It was Dixie, and then Jeff came back in with Global Force, and then Dixie had to sell it, and then Anthem bought it, and then this guy was running it, and then that guy was running it, then D'Amore was going to run it, but then they fucking kicked him out, and some other guy was running it. What's going on over there? They keep running along, but they're on a treadmill.
Does Christy Hemme have a background in marketing?
Christy Hemme has a background. I don't know if I'd call it marketing. But
what would you call it, Jim?
I don't, not sure what you can these days.
Does Josh Matthews have a background in what was it, digital media?
I don't know what the fuck. He was a microscopic kid that actually tried to be a wrestler on Tough Enough, I think, is how he get. That's when I was there. Again, I'd only been around him one day. I'm not, maligning him as a horrible human being and don't have chapter and verse on everything he's done in his life. But when I was there in that taping in 2017 was when Jeff had come back and they were going to make it Global Force Wrestling, and they brought me down to fire Bruce Pritchard because nobody else had the gumption. And that was when they had the leftover administration from whatever that Big John, what was his name? Garbanzo? Big John Gibberish.
Gaboric.
Big John Gaboric had been there as some kind of producer. Because as we said, people that didn't know what the fuck they were doing had been sold a bill of goods that he was some wrestling executive or wrestling expert with a background in wrestling because he was an unemployed friend of Kevin Dunn's, and Kevin Dunn stuck him on Tough Enough as a representative of the studio judges or the production judges or whatever. And they ended up hiring this fucking guy down there to run some shit, whatever his job was. And did I tell you the story of my interaction with Big John with the board gimmick? Was how long have we been doing this thing? Was that I don't know if I've told that story because I wouldn't have told it at the time because it would, when I worked there that brief period, it would have been destroying magic I was involved in making. But I may have told it immediately afterwards when they fucking went to shit and fucking Jeff left and everything was gone and everything else anyway. But the board story. Are you bored by this story?
No, I'm now dying to know what it is. Let's hear it.
Well, no, okay. So Jeff Jarrett, and I'm told they have to go back to 2017 on the YouTube channel. I'll try to synopsize because the clip has been out there. People like to tweet that of me firing Bruce Pritchard from Global Force Wrestling. Jeff had called me because he had come back and joined with Dixie, and they were going to do the thing with Global Force, and I can't even remember all the chain of events that led that into being. But he said, he pitched to me, would you come down and be a representative of the new hierarchy, whoever is supposed to be running it at that point, that outranks Bruce Pritchard, and fire him and carry us to our Bound for Glory pay-per-view or whatever it was. And I said, all right, to do him a favor, because it was going to be like 5 days in a row of taping 2 shows a day to get him 10 weeks. So I didn't have to go up and back but once. I just had to stay there, but I could hang out with Dutch Mantell and help Jeff. No good deed goes unpunished. I used to do favors. Remember when I would say, next time I do anybody a favor, shoot me. So I go down there, and Jeff had asked me to produce a few of the segments also, wink, wink. Now, since you're here, do you mind? And one of them was John Hennigan, John Morrison, Johnny Nitro, Johnny, however many names, I don't know what name he's using today, but our friend from OVW was there then, and they were going to do an angle with him. And they were going to go in and just kick the shit out. I said, well, I was in a production meeting. You've got 3 or 4 angles where the fucking heels come in and just kick the shit out of somebody, blah, blah, blah. They were wondering what to do with Johnny. Would it be better if the heel just comes in as he's cutting the promo, and as he turns around from the blind side, boom, break the board over his head. It'll fly up in the air. The people will go, ooh, Johnny will be knocked helpless. The guy can stand there high. You run everybody in, it'll make an impact. And also, Johnny doesn't have to take, because I think his back was bothering him, he didn't have to take 3 or 4 big fucking wrestling moves, just a board to the head. And Jeff said, okay, let's do that. So I set it all up with him and give me the board and the screwdriver and the blah, blah, blah. And then as we're going out there and we're walking through something over in the corner, the people that are involved in the thing, we go back by the deal, and Big John, and I think they must have called him Big John because his head was the size of a water buffalo. And he looked like Vader if Vader gained weight in the face. And he said, "What are y'all doing?" I said, "Well, we're doing a board deal with Johnny instead of, getting a bunch of heat on him. I got to check and make sure that's been approved." I said, "What?" He said, "Oh, we've eliminated shots to the head here. No chair shots, and it's gimmick. Well, I've still got to check and make sure it's been approved." I said, "You just did. You checked with me, and I told you it's been approved." And he sat back down, and we didn't have any other really fucking interaction for the rest of the time I was there. But I don't, what the fuck? I think he thought he was still running something at that point in time.
Who was he going to check with?
It was going to get on the fucking IFB and go have some production assistant run and find fucking somebody Jeff Jarrett told me to do this, and I was next in that food chain because I'm the producer. So just sit there and watch what happens.
You're probably the only person who's ever done that to him in wrestling. Because in WWE, he had Kevin Dunn's protection, and TNA, he was kind of either running things or helped run things for a while. And you just put him in his place. That's
but
great.
My God, that'd be like me going to fucking my mechanic and butting him out of the way under the hood and saying, "No, goddammit, screw that thing in there." What the fuck? It wouldn't start, much less run, if I was operating it, because I was not in my area of expertise at that instance. So anyway.
Do you think Kevin Dunn called him watch out for Cornette? He's a bad guy. Watch out.
I think he probably already knew what I would think of him anyway. But is this worth following the new ownership over here? Not ownership, but the new hierarchy. Are they going to make any big changes in a small product? Big trouble in little TNA?
I mean, we'll see what happens. The bigger thing was the TNA WWE relationship, TNA running big shows in Los Angeles and New York this year.
Shit, I just thought, is this a good time for them to be putting new people in to run the shit when they've already announced these goddamn big events, and they will have, allegedly, at this point, some WWE representation in these major arenas that they got no fucking chance of filling on their own?
Was this previous guy their Kip Fry? Kind of just a corporate placeholder? Someone who's going to remain within the company, someone who the company likes? Here, hold down the fort while we find someone?
Well, and then, maybe we should have followed this microscopic story, because did they announce the big buildings before or after they kicked D'Amore out?
Oh, well after.
Okay, all right. I'm just thinking, they've announced these big buildings and they've announced this partnership, and they got more interest in themselves than in quite a while, and suddenly heads are rolling. We'll see how that all works out for them.
By the way, it's also funny the two different sides you hear. One side says, Scott D'Amore was the greatest. This company's gone to shit without Scott D'Amore. I love Scott D'Amore. I don't want to work there anymore. And the other side will say, yeah, Scott D'Amore overpaid every single one of these people, so they fucking love him. And that's why we're trying to cut salaries, because it's insane. Kip Fry.
You know what Watts called Kip Fry?
Coppola. What was it?
Francis Ford Coppola.
Coppola, that's right.
Because he thought he was a goddamn Hollywood movie producer, and he was giving guys bonuses to show up for work and fucking performance bonuses for goddamn showing up for work.
He was like a Tony Khan with a backbone.
No, now, because I think I met him once. I'm not sure, but I think he was a nice guy as an executive, but I don't think he came from such a privileged background that he had never been turned down in life to where that he instantly thought that he was an expert in wrestling. He was trying to implement some of his business logic into a illogical business, to quote Bill Dundee.
And by the way, let me just jump in. If you hear any little blips in the audio, obviously there's been a lot going on. We're still in the midst of upgrading everything. Jim's audio will be completely repaired, hopefully within a week and a half or so.
Oh, God damn it. Now, but no, here's the thing. Somehow, in putting in my brand new fancy Dan computer and the brand new drive-in movie screen size monitor, my goddamn headphones have got a short in the cable. The headphones that you, Brian Last, have been making me wear. The only thing now I've got that has been furnished by you is the headphones and the microphone.
And what happened to the headphones? You didn't say what happened yet.
Well, it was happening before that I've jerked the cord out of. But that wouldn't explain what's going on now.
I stepped on it, I believe, is the exact quote I heard.
I stepped on it when I was wearing it. I was wearing the headphones, and when I stood up from trying to repair the problem in the audio that we believe is now caused by the headphones, I stood up, my foot was on it, I jerked one side out, but that doesn't have anything to do with it.
But everything will be continued to be worked on and improved, and we have a lot of big plans for the big year and beyond.